So let's talk about the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit. So we're going to give us a brief overview of the MDT. The MDT can be downloaded from Microsoft. Essentially, you go there, you click the download, you say 64-bit or 32-bit, and you go from there. You install it by downloading the Microsoft Development Toolkit that was downloaded from the site. So once you actually have it open, you can create a shared folder on the network. This is going to be called the distribution, and this is what's really important, is this share has to be open to everyone. Once you create the share, you will open up the workbench by going to Start, going to the Microsoft Development Toolkit, and selecting Workbench. You may get a UAC prompt. Go and click OK. On the left-hand side, we'll have the Deployment Share section. You'll be right-clicking the Deployment Share and choosing a new Deployment Share. This is where we'll actually be creating the shares that we'll be using when we use MDT. And don't worry, we actually have a lab covering this step by step, just so that we understand the full process. The nice thing is that as you're doing this, you can be adding in an operating system, you can be adding in applications, you can be setting standard usernames, passwords, stuff like that. So this is really good when we're talking about allowing for an unattended installation. So what is an unattended installation? It typically is one that you create a customized installation script for specific to the environment. You essentially want to get it set up on the go, and it has all the settings for you. You don't want to have to play around with having to manage every small little detail. If you have 1,000 machines to image or 1,000 machines to install Windows on that are all going to be pretty unique, you want them to kind of have an easy way to be able to take a image, something that is centralized and a base for all of the settings, and push it to all of the machines. The big thing here is unattended installation has what's called an auto-unattend.xml file, and that's used for reading data into the installation process so the system knows how to handle it. So when we're doing our MDT, we need to have that distribution share. We have to create the share and we have to allow people to access it. That way, when we have a target machine, they will be on the network, they will boot off of a PE type disk, which is a Windows pre-installation environment disk, and it essentially will call out to our distribution share. That way it can pull down the files it needs. So things like setting it up with distribution image files, core installation files, and providing the credentials is kind of extremely helpful. Advantages of unattended installation: well, essentially saves time, saves money, saves hours. Also, uniformity. Everything being installed is a nice uniform, so that helps greatly. But what are some of the disadvantages of it? Well, it's a manual installation. It's not practical for mass installation. So one of the biggest disadvantages doing unattended installation is that the admin does not physically walk through the installation of the Windows 10 installation. That can be an issue. There are requirements for the initial setup that need to be thought out. This means that this actually has to be planned thoroughly for this to be successful. And that's one thing that definitely is not always the case, is planning for the event. So that covers our basic Microsoft deployment technology and our basic unattended pros and cons. We're going to get deeper into some of the deployment options, but for now we have at least a basic understanding of it, which that was the point of this. Questions or concerns, reach out.